see a stock like Radnet, the diagnostic imaging company with 366 locations across 7 states, soaring 17% in a single day. I want you to remember that this was actually gettable. I know that because we had the CEO of Radnet on the show in October, and he told a very compelling story to the point where I recommended buying the darn thing. I hope you listen. Stock has now rallied from 29 to roughly 44 since then, including today's monster move. I mean, you'd think Radnet got a takeover bid or something, but in reality, they just reported a terrific top and bottom line beat with a healthy full-year forecast. Clearly, Wall Street's just lapped this one up. So let's take a closer look with Dr. Howard Berger, who's the co-founder, chairman, CEO of Radnet, to find out more. Dr. Berger, welcome back to Mad Money.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, you know, Dr. Berger, when you were on, you traced out this wonderful thesis, basically, that the payers would really prefer to shift scans out of hospitals to your kind of company. And I guess it's just accelerated because these numbers are nothing short of amazing.
Well, I think it's a combination, Jim, of not only that, but just the overall growth in the imaging industry as people recognize the value that imaging plays in early detection and ultimately a better outcome in their health. So, you know, because we deal with elective procedures, the average, person is going to make their way into our office simply with growth that occurs as the population increases and as people age, they need more and more imaging. But the additional component now really has been added with the transition away from the higher cost hospital settings, as well as the new technology, such like PET CT scanning for better diagnostic evaluation of prostate cancer, has allowed us to accelerate this very useful tools for earlier detection and precision detection.
Well, I think a good example of that is that Mammogram now, Radnet's breast screen service inside Walmart. That's where people can go, and that's a great place to see. People can get detection by going to Walmart.
Well, we think not only will that be more convenient for patients, but there is perhaps 1/3 of the female population that should be getting routine breast screening and which are not for a variety of reasons, many of which is it's just inconvenient to find a place that's comfortable for them to go or a lack of education. So the program at Walmart in our first pilot project in Delaware was really to try to tap into better education and convenience that will hopefully take the 1/3 of the patients that should be getting screening exams more accessible and more comfortable with it. That along with the fact that even though annual screening is advised, women are not often getting that. And so if you can do it at the place where they're just going on a regular basis to begin with, then it should provide us with a better opportunity to enhance the breast cancer detection. I'm pleased with the early results of our pilot project in Delaware and happy to announce today that I believe later this month we're going to be implementing a pilot project in Phoenix, Arizona also.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned prostate. The standard of care had been to do a very invasive biopsy that we all know can cause infections and in some cases lead to very difficult complications. But there is becoming a new standard of care that involves exactly what you mentioned, which is to use contrast MRIs, not invasive, and apparently just as good, if not better, at spotting cancer.
Well, particularly if you aid the radiologist with some of the artificial intelligence that we've developed or that has been developed, and which we own a company that does, to be able to identify more accurately and make the radiologist more efficient and confident in their diagnosis. So while it doesn't always eliminate the biopsy, which is necessary to get the pathology report and help better determine, what the next step should be, what we're really looking at is trying to avoid the biopsies on those patients that really didn't need it, that might have been done blindly just because they had an elevated PSA. So the standard of care now is very rapidly becoming a screening or diagnostic prostate MRI scan.
Well, I think that's incredible because it's some people felt that it was just wasteful too to the system. The system is increasingly too expensive, and one of the classic examples in terms of too expensive is we're about to have a new Alzheimer's dementia drug. It's going to be approved, I believe, for Eli Lilly. We have one for Biogen. And without your screening, it's possible that everyone in the world would demand this treatment. We can't do that. You're talking about 4 MRI screenings that maybe elucidates who should be eligible for these.
Well, the MRI scan, Jim, actually is done after a patient has been determined appropriate to go on a trial of the new drugs. The current one that is most talked about is Leqembi. But once you do the PET CT scan or PET MRI scan to determine whether or not they're a candidate for the new drugs, then for follow-up treatment, because of the side effects that these drugs can cause, that has changes occurring in the brain, that we use the MRI for detection to avoid complications where the cure might be worse than the disease. So the MRI volume, as a result of more and more of these patients being diagnosed as an eligible candidate for the drugs, will have to be followed up by routine MRI scanning on a pretty regular basis.
Wow. I mean, that's just look, no one wants to have to say that something's an annuity stream off of somebody's pain, but sir, I think that you are in one of the best positions in trying to keep healthcare costs down and also getting the patient the kind of health they need, trying to treatment they need. Dr. Howard Berger is the Radnet President and CEO. Dr. Berger, thank you for coming on the show.
Jim, thanks for having me, and hopefully the next time we can do it in person again.
I hope so. What a stock. And Dr. Berger brought it to our attention, but it originally started, by the way, with one of our viewers who called in and suggested this might be a great idea. Our viewers are the smartest there is. Mad Money's back after the break.
Coming up, his mission is simple, but how about Cramer's take on Mission Produce? Find out if this one's ripe for the taking. Next. Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.